have to be empowered to manage your emissions in the same way as you manage your financials. And usually for a manufacturing company, if we don't take downstream scope 3 into account, 90% of emissions come from the supply chain. And when we take into account, let's say, the carbon P&L of a big automotive company, it could be the case that from 2030 on, companies have to pay 100 millions of euros every year to achieve net zero, which is decided by law. And from that perspective, having accurate breakdowns is a very powerful tool, because this would help you to make decisions to reduce emissions beyond purely buying carbon offsets. So this could either be changing the supplier, changing the transport mode, sourcing a different material, maybe reducing the thickness of materials, or also making production steps more efficient. So the key here is really granularity, and especially in carbon footprinting, since the methodology framework is very broad, at the moment companies have still the option to, let's say, to use methodologies that are more inaccurate, but maybe simpler, because the mathematics are easier. And if you have simpler methodologies, it doesn't help you in the end to make informed decision making. So granularity is very key. Another thing is, as soon as regulatories will force companies to have penalties or fines, it's easy to connect the carbon footprint to costs allocated. So which means if we already know that something like the carbon border tax is coming in, we can already be smart, forecast the expected costs we have, and then make decisions to figure out what would it cost me to reduce 1 ton of CO2 with what kind of initiative. So for instance, what would it cost me to source with an alternative supplier? What would it cost me to force my suppliers or ask them in a friendly way, are you using green energy in the supply chain? So I can really understand the financial impact of that, and it makes my life easier when it comes to making decisions. And of course, especially in procurement, which is the last point here, we will come to a point, and we see this already in tender processes, that it's not only about the pure price of a product, it's also about disclosing the entire environmental impact of a product. We see that, for instance, also in the automotive industry with production planning of 8 years, that you now have to make an informed decision about the footprint of your source product in order to let your customers know in the next 8 years, here's my concrete plan of reducing the footprint of my own products, because the footprint of your product in the end consists of the footprints of your suppliers. And this is why it's very relevant to have accuracy here.